What I gathered is that, especially in the times of crisis, that the design approach is so important. And I wanted to ask you, since all of you cooperate with different experts and work in multidisciplinary teams, how do you think we can spread the idea of sustainability outside of our bubble? Because I get this idea that it is very important to create this change inside and spread the idea, but many times I feel like maybe preaching to the choir, as we all know what are the challenges, and I think that one of the biggest challenges for our society is that we are so divided. Especially this pandemic time showed us how people got even more divided by the crisis, and more conspiracy theories grow, and people start not believing in science, rather they believe in conspiracy because they show them some kind of order and some order in the world. So my question would be, what is your idea of approaching people outside of our, let's say, comfortable idea bubble? Maybe starting with I don't know, maybe we have a volunteer. Maybe Dan, you would like to start?
Of course, no problem. Good question. Not easy answer. It takes time. It takes time, and sometimes not 1 or 2 years, even more. Because there are a lot of things you can do. I will choose one. This is changing system instead of changing people or perception. Not that the perception or mentality will not be a good candidate. They could be the best candidate if you successfully are able to change somehow on the mentality level, the perception of the urgency and importance of this journey, this topic for us at the humanity level. Why I will choose systems? As Edward Demings is saying, any good intention will be beaten by a bad system. You have bad systems in this moment. I cannot speak for your own system, but I can speak for my own country system. You have systems that are not working at political level, at the educational level, at the administration level, that they're not working anymore, and they should be improved. So we are working to create that system which is working. And as I told you several minutes ago, we are using open government partnership methodology in order to get support from an international community.
Thank you. Clyde, what would you say about that?
Yes, I mean, I agree completely with Dan there. You are thinking about systemic change is really what's required. And I suppose I was trying to think of answering the question from like our kind of position, particularly with Shirley, a lot of us here as educators. So I suppose like our kind of, I suppose, probably our most effective method is to kind of, myself and Shirley talk about this quite a lot in terms of like, educating the students in their own agency, in terms of even the disciplines that they are going out to work in. I mean, obviously you have like, on the MA Design for Change, we are training people to become like systems designers and service designers and community engagers. But even under other programs, like the undergrads you mentioned, like people going into film or visual communications, they're often even now going out not aware of their own agency and their own kind of responsibility in terms of their own discipline and in terms of design itself. So I think that's a really important aspect that still needs to be addressed, So that idea of like the critical and contextual context, and those contexts that design happens in, and what can our young designers of the future do and know about that, and the effects that they have, and what can they modify and do in a positive way. So that's an answer.
Thank you. Esteban?
I just wanted to relate your question with a question that was raised to Vera in our intervention. So we have both the question of how to spread the idea of sustainability out of our bubble, right? And we have also the question that was posed by Ian, if we could understand sustainability as something universal. So I think those questions are questions that are very close related. And I think that sustainability could be considered as universal, and the idea of spreading sustainability as an imperative, it could be considered universal from the point of view as an imperative, but it's not universal in the ways we understand sustainability. I guess sustainability has to be defined in relation to territories. The idea of sustainability depends on our context. There may be called, I mean, if we're called to spread the imperative of sustainability, it's all right, but we must not impose our understandings of sustainability to societies and communities that have different relations to their environment, between themselves. So I think it's very important to have something that maybe we could call a decolonial approach of ecology and sustainability, to try to avoid, through this imperative, to spread the idea of sustainability, to impose conceptions and definitions of sustainability that maybe don't fit in other contexts. Of course, as an imperative, as the question in itself, I think it is imperative, but we have to be aware and we have to be conscious on the way we insist in its spreading.
We have already communities which are living very sustainable, and we can learn from them. So I think it's also that not the designer is the person who knows, but it's us who have to learn and to translate and to support. And this can be one role of design. Another, so credibilization. Another role of design can be making accessible. So how sustainability can be accessible, because often this is related to techniques, is related to a lot of aspects. So what is a low level, high level, accessible sustainability? This is another aspect. Another is to show where the real crime against nature is done. And this is of big industries where we often are collaborating. This is, so if you do the analyze big cities which are not functioning sustainable. So we have also make a culture of denunciation, and the design can help by mapping, by reading, by representing, to understand where the real crime is done, for example. And another role for design can also be to start to question our idea of sustainability, what Esteban said, so that our capacity. And then at the final stage, for me, problem-centered research and action is the key question, because then you have designers next to other experts. And if the problem is in the center, then we are sharing. Then we are out of our bubble, because then we surely we will have territorial experts, because they can help us to understand the problematic.
Thank you. Shirley, would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, I suppose just to maybe a little bit from what Clyde said, that in our work as educators, I guess in terms of the age group that we work with primarily and with undergrads before they get to master's level, we find that there is actually, on a positive note, there is a really good awareness of sustainability amongst kind of the late teenagers. And what's really good, I suppose, in that regard, is that they're bringing the ideas around sustainability into their project work. So say on our visual communication design program, there are a lot of sustainability projects that just seem to be very close to the students' hearts. So I suppose I take a lot of positivity from the fact that the youth are, much more aware than I was at that age. So, there are some good things that are starting off, I think, at earlier education, where children are really a lot more aware than we ever were, I think. So so I'm looking at it in a positive way, I suppose, that, it's getting better from the ground up, I think. So.
Yeah, I think it's very important to keep in mind this optimistic side of it, because we sometimes tend to focus on the negative, and to be honest, that change is happening so quickly then that we don't sometimes see that, it's a few years ago we wouldn't be speaking maybe about those topics. So yeah, we have to keep this in mind. I was wondering also, because I think that for many designers, no matter the faculty, this time was a time for hopefully for maybe reevaluating their work, and for some people might find themselves a little bit powerless or lost in a way that the future is so unpredictable, and it always was actually, but this situation showed us how unpredictable it is. And I wanted to ask you about how do you, maybe not the general advice to everyone, but how you personally deal with this uncertainty, and how can we design the future when the future is so uncertain and so changing so quickly? Maybe Dan, you, as order.
Oh, sure.
Tough question again, I know.
Okay, well, I mean, I can help Dan out there, if that helps, because I have an answer.
Sure.
Okay, Dan, just to give you a break there. We're going to come back to you anyway, don't worry about it. You won't get away with it. But, but it's interesting, I suppose, that what's very kind of like real privilege and the opportunity we have as design educators is that we can, and what we should be doing is like bringing the world in, to the studio. And the theme this year, it just so happens that, based on, I suppose, the reality of the world, just as the IADT do, we kind of both programs choose a theme to bring in to the studio that the students will work on as their group project. Now, often the IADT would find a client to work with, but what we're doing is we're like choosing themes that we bring in. So like, our theme this year is precarity itself. So like our theme is precarity, and from next week we're going to start do some concept mapping. Concept mapping. We will start to look at some system mapping of the actual and developing some operational definitions of like precarity and what does that mean in the modern world. And I think most of us know what it means in different contexts. But I suppose the short answer is, how do we deal with that? Well, we bring it into the studio and we try and use design with our students to address it, like as best we can, And we try and identify the people that we can assist, and we try and identify the people that can assist us in that, And just echo what I thought Vera's answer was great, and she talked about, people have knowledges. There's other knowledges out there. There's other way of knowing. And it's to move away from the kind of like design centric, as in the kind of the designer being centered all the time. In many ways, I think designer future is about like understanding kind of like the relationality of the designer in terms of who the other stakeholders are, and where the other agencies are, and who can assist and help like actually address a problem in a kind of a meaningful way, as opposed to kind of a superficial a problem or kind of a solution focused way, which is like, we have a timeline here, we have a solution at the end of this. It's to move away from those modes of kind of making and designing and thinking towards a more I suppose like a systems oriented way of designing. That would be my answer. So this year we are looking into precarity. We're going to like address all the issues, or we're going to start, obviously, we choose one or two, but that would be our approach and the MA Design for Change.
More time from my side, because I've tried to empathize more with the designing side. I'm not coming from that side, and I don't want to give an answer which is, very theoretical. And we are living in a period of time which is stressful for a lot of us. And in this period of time when everything is changing and you don't have so many reference points like you had before, the communication is essential. Transparency, participation, communication especially is important. You don't communicate well. Sometimes you fail communicating the wrong thing, but it's a great opportunity, and I'm speaking now from the entrepreneurial mindset, which is seeing an opportunity in each challenge. And let's face it, we are living in a world in which there is one single constant, and this is change. And if we see that this is a single constant, then maybe we are looking to entrepreneurs which are looking a little bit different to challenges, to these problems. They are looking to them as opportunities. And I think if you communicate, if you change a little bit the perspective with the help of the teacher and the help of this kind of discussion, that a problem can be an opportunity for you to develop or to experiment something nobody else before in design have done it. Then it could be a challenge and, I don't know, a spring of energy, which could change the way the designers and the students which are working in this field are seeing this period of time, which is not just with bad things, but is also with good things. For example, digitalization. I tell you, in education and public administration in Romania, we have done not even a half of what we have achieved in the last 8 months. So, different perspective, different lens.
Would anyone would like to add something? Shirley, Esteban?
Yeah, maybe I just wanted to add something. Like my answer to that question would be related to what we just were saying a moment ago, about the question of if economic powers, if political powers are taking advantage of the crisis, as Naomi Klein says in this shock doctrine, we will need to see how we can also take advantage of the crisis to find new ways of creation that can become forms of resistance. And that's, I think, what we've been trying to do in City through finding new ways to, for example, regain control of public space. Like after the pandemics, we've lost control, we've lost the opportunity and the possibility of occupying public spaces, like physically with our bodies. So I guess these pandemics and this situation has pushed us also in that way of finding new ways of regaining control of public space. If it's not through our bodies, we can find also different kind of tools that we're rediscovering, like technological tools that existed already, but now we are kind of rediscovering them, to find new ways to communicate and exchange. For example, 2 weeks ago, or the last week, we organized precisely the Night of Design in Lille, and it was an exchange with designers, artists, and creators from all over the world in 24 hours of conversations, like to try to get together and try to precisely take advantage of these new situations, to find new ways to communicate, exchange, new tools to create, and to create relating to others that can be physically with us. And through this kind of alternatives, try to regain the control that has been in some sort of forbidden or banned us from public spaces.
Yes. Shirley, would you like to add something?
No, I think just, I suppose, a small thing in terms of, I suppose, getting our students to, I suppose, speculate more, in terms of what can be the futures, and to sort of, I suppose, from our point of view, just really bringing that, I suppose, more into education in terms of from an earlier stage, even, because we're I suppose we have been doing it a good bit on BMA, but just giving them the power and, suppose, enabling them with the tools to speculate and kind of So, hopefully that will, I suppose, affect change. So that would be.
Yeah. From what you all say, my output is that we should not continue this design center, as Clyde said, approach, but more maybe cooperative and science-based and research-based, basically, solutions
and people-based. People-based solutions. So I'm just coming back to this because I think it's the most important, and reappropriate the future. In this moment, there are others who are designing it, so we have to reappropriate it.
Yeah, exactly, and look at the changes that are so visible, right? Because hello, Vera.
I'm in the train.
So we can leave house.
It's a real body, yeah, real body.
Right. Thank you for joining back. I was saying that, and as you all before said, to use the basic designer's skills to observe the situation that we are in and take and work out the solution. I'm afraid that that's all that we have time for today. I would like to talk to you some more, but we are out of time. So thank you so much. Thank you to our panelists and for the lectures that you gave.